Hello everyone, I hope you're well. I think I must have sent you, well, it feels like hundreds of letters over the last few weeks, and so I thought I'd try something a little bit different now and try this video letter this week. They say variety is the spice of life, so fingers crossed this works. It'd be useful to get your feedback. Okay, if I could start by giving you an update regarding COVID-19. And in line with many schools, we seem to have had a number of cases, and over the past week that has increased quite significantly. And as you can imagine, it's quite challenging. What it ends up with us doing is having to send pupils home, often whole year groups, sometimes a smaller group. And what I thought I'd do at the start of this video message is to try to explain to you how and why we do those things. And so, right at the start, if we do get a message telling us that someone has been tested positive for coronavirus, this kicks in a whole series of events. One of the first things that we do is we will get, if it happens during school time, is we'll get all of the pupils together in our sports hall, and we'll contact you and ask you for permission to send the whole of the year group home. And we'll do that immediately. We'll look after them. We'll never ever send anyone home without permission from you. We'll never leave pupils on their own. Now, as soon as the pupils are home, we can then begin the contact tracing exercise. And we work very closely then with Public Health Wales and the contact tracing team. And we try to identify the contacts within a year group. And the way we identify the contacts is as follows. There are two types of contacts. Those contacts who have been within 1 metre of the person who has tested positive for 1 minute or longer, and those who have been within 2 metres for more than 15 minutes. Now, at the moment, we're dealing with cases in Year 12, Year 11, Year 10 and Year 7. And if you notice from the slide there, I put the word contact group after Year 7. And I'll explain why. We had a case in Year 7 this week, and we have been able to identify a much smaller group that need to self-isolate. And the way we've been able to do this is by looking at who those pupils are taught with. Now, luckily, in Year 7, pupils are taught together in their form group for all of their subjects, and that made the contact tracing much easier. We then worked out who the contacts were at break and lunchtime of the pupil concerned, and we were only in the end needed to identify up to about 35 pupils who have had to self-isolate in Year 7. It's quite different in Years 10 and Year 11. Here, we've had to ask the whole of the year group to self-isolate, and I think I need to explain why. In Year 10 and Year 11, pupils are taught in sets often, for example, in their core subjects in maths, English and science. But also, of course, they choose optional subjects. And in these optional subjects, they're taught with pupils from across the year group. And so from a teaching point of view and from a class organisation point of view, identifying the contact group is very, very difficult. And if you factor in then the contact group all get together at break and at lunchtime as a contact group, then I hope you can understand why we need to self-isolate the whole year group in these instances. And it's a very, very difficult decision. We don't want the pupils to be at home. But actually, what we found this week, we're into about day 3 or 4 with our Year 11 pupils at the moment. The fact that they're all at home means that actually we can deliver them a much better learning experience than if only a few of them were in school, or let's say 30% of them were in school and 70% of them were self-isolating. And I need to explain why. For example, if we had a smaller Year 11 group in school, let's say 30%, so they'll be attending school, they'll be going to lessons, but then when we were actually delivering those lessons, we'd be thinking, well, what about the 70%? How are we going to deliver to them as well? For us, it is much better, it is much more equitable to have all of our pupils at home in these year groups so that we can deliver to them a truly online interactive learning experience. In terms of COVID actions in school, draw your attention to hand sanitizer. Some parents have asked me, do we provide hand sanitizer in school? And we do. There is hand sanitizer stations situated around the school, in corridors, in outside areas, and every single classroom has a ready supply of hand sanitizer. Pupils are asked to hand sanitize at the start of a lesson, at the end of a lesson, at the start of break, and the end of break. Uniform. I'm often asked questions about uniform. Why can't they wear blazers? Well, they can wear blazers if they want to. They can wear ties if they want to. However, the requirement is that these are regularly washed, and preferably they're washed every single evening. Now, I'm quite sure with these expensive items, if you wash those every evening, if you washed a blazer every evening, it would soon ruin it. And so you can send your son or daughter in with a tie and a blazer if you want to, but please be aware that they don't need to, and if you do wash them every evening, they could look very, very tatty very, very quickly. And as I said, they are very expensive. Face masks. Pupils have to wear face masks on school transport, and as of this week, they have to wear face masks in internal communal areas, such as corridors, the canteen area, the coffee shop area, and so on. They do not need to wear face masks in external areas, and if you know Brynteg, you know that our pupils spend a lot of time outside walking between lessons. And of course, pupils that have a medical condition, they will not need to wear face masks. At the moment, pupils are not required to wear face masks in class. However, that could change, and I will inform you if it does change. However, if pupils wish to wear face masks in the classroom situation, then that is absolutely fine. No one is going to stop them from doing so. Break and lunchtime, of course, we've got our food ordering system, which is online and appears to be going very, very well. I do appreciate that it's a very limited menu, but it seems to be working. And I am aware that there are some schools that haven't offered food in school at the moment, so I'm quite pleased with the way that that's gone. If you haven't tried the system yet, please do so. I think our canteen staff and our coffee shop staff are a tremendous group of people. They work extremely hard, and they could do with your support at the moment. Break and lunchtime. One of the big issues for all schools is what we do with pupils at break and lunchtime. They have to stay within their control group. Now, their control group in Brynteg is their year group. So year 10 pupils have to stay with year 10 pupils. They're not to mix with year 9 or year 11 and so on. We have defined areas of the school, but of course, the good old Welsh weather is difficult and challenging at the best of times. And we don't want to see our pupils outside getting wet. As of next week, we have purchased marquees for our pupils so that they have dry, warm areas around school. And so your 9 pupils will have their marquee where they can go to at break and at lunchtime. We haven't had any additional funding for this as yet as a school, and but it is something that we think we ought to do for our pupils to make them safe so they can be within their control group, but also warm and dry during these times. Actions at home. Self-isolation. If anyone in the household has symptoms, anyone that a pupil lives with, then those pupils should be self-isolating. Please do not send them into school. And sadly, we are experiencing cases of this where someone is self-isolating at home, someone has symptoms at home, and pupils have arrived at school. And it isn't appropriate. It's making the whole of the school community vulnerable. Please support us with this. If anyone in their household is having a test, then pupils need to self-isolate. Please don't send them in. Please don't send pupils in because someone in the household is waiting for test results. Again, it makes the whole of the school community vulnerable if you don't do this. And of course, keep pupils at home if they display any of the 3 COVID symptoms. I think in the past I've been telling you things like send them into school, we'll deal with them. If they have a little cold, if they have a temperature, let us sort it out. Please don't do that now. If they have any of the COVID symptoms, keep them at home. Let's be safe about this. But again, we have had many pupils that have turned up who have said that their mum or dad wants them to come to school and see how they feel later on in the day. It's making everyone vulnerable. Please help us. we have set up a COVID line. This is a direct telephone number that you can use. It's a mobile number, but it's only to be used if you've had a COVID-19 test. So if your son or daughter has had a COVID-19 test, please could you text a message in telling us whether it's positive or negative. Don't leave a voicemail message. Don't send us a screenshot either. It's a very old phone. Just send us a simple text message, and that will allow us time to begin to plan if it's positive. But please, if it's positive or negative, use the COVID line. Home learning. If pupils are asked to self-isolate, then pupils will need to learn at home. Some parents and carers have asked me about buying a laptop, a Chromebook, a device for home. You don't need to. We'll try to provide you with a device, but we, again, have not had any extra funding whatsoever to buy devices. We're trying to recycle devices. We're taking them off departments and so on if we need to get them home, but please be aware of that. But we'll always support you. If you are in the lucky position where you are able to buy a device, and some parents and carers have asked me about this, then you do not need to spend £300, £400, £500 on a device at all. The device that I've got on the screen would be absolutely perfect for pupils in year 7 to 13. £130, a lot of money, I do appreciate. I'm not actually telling you to buy one, but if you wish to buy one, then this is the type of device that would suit the needs of pupils at Brynteg School well. You can even get cheaper devices, about £109 we found them online today, but that is the type of device that you could buy. You do not need to spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds. If pupils are self-learning at home, then what we'll do every single morning is have what we call a check-in, the old form tutor period. And these have gone really, really well. So if your daughter is self-isolating or your son is self-isolating, then the very first thing, 8:45 in the morning, they'll have to do is go to their check-in period with their form tutor. And this is where their form tutor will check to see that everything's okay, that they know what they're doing for the rest of the day, that they haven't had any problems with the work that was set and so on, and just find out how they are and have a chat. These, as I say, are working really, really well. They're 8:45 in the morning. Please support us in getting your son or daughter there. A funny comment I heard this week when I dropped in on one of our check-in sessions was one of the pupils was asking the teacher, Miss, do I have to wear uniform in the check-in session? Well, you can if you're at home if you want to, but it's not a requirement. But that's how the learning day starts. Then we have our lessons. We will set work for our pupils. Our year 7, 8 and 9 pupils will have what we call themed days. As you can see, here's an example. Mrs. Mackey will communicate the learning to you. Our deputy head teacher, she will contact you via letter, via email and through social media and tell you what your themed day is if you're in year 7, 8 or 9 and you are self-isolating. As you can see from the example here, this is a year 7 one, and on one day this week they had humanities themed day, and again that allows them to focus on humanities for the one day, and it works really, really well. For our older pupils, our years 10, 11, 12 and 13 pupils, they will follow their actual timetables. So if they have maths period 1 on a Tuesday, they will go onto Google Classroom and they will have a maths lesson. The teacher may be live streaming the lesson, the teacher may have put up some videos, the teacher may have put up some supporting documentation and so on, but they will need to go to those lessons throughout the day, finishing as they would normally at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In the next few weeks, you'll be receiving an email from us with join-in details for something called Class Chats. Class Chats is really, really exciting. It's an app that we'd like you to download, if possible, please, onto your mobile phone. And we'll use it to communicate simple messages to you about homework, which will tell you to go to Google Classroom and look up the homework that is there. But we'll also be communicating with you rewards. If your son or daughter has achieved something well in school, we'll be putting those through there. And also, of course, some of the more negative things, if we feel you ought to be aware of some of the behaviours that we're experiencing in school. So you'll get that information in the next few weeks. It'll have a username and a password on there. It'll be unique to you. You can download the app as parents and carers. And indeed, if your son or daughter is also lucky enough to have a mobile phone, they can download the Class Charts app as well. Now, on Friday, tomorrow, I'm recording this on Thursday evening, but on Friday, I have my hot chocolate meeting with pupils. Last week, I met with pupils from Year 7, and you can see a photograph of them here. You can see the young man, Corey, in the corner there. He had the Bright Idea Award for some of the ideas that he came up with. And if you can look at the coffee table, you can see the empty bags of cookies. They lasted approximately 32 seconds. So well done, Year 7. Tomorrow, I'm having hot chocolate with our Year 8 pupils, or some of our Year 8 pupils who've been nominated by staff across the school. I'm going to be meeting with Leon, Joshua, Amy and Courtney, and I really look forward to that. And I'll feed back to you as parents and carers how that meeting went via social media and through a letter or a video message next week. Finally, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for your support. These are really difficult and challenging times. We've tried in Brynteg to offer as normal a timetable as possible. We're one of the few schools that have started extracurricular activities, sporting activities, music activities, where the peripatetic music staff are offering music lessons. But I know we need your support. The fact that I've contacted some of you during the day and said that your son or daughter needs to come home immediately, and you have done it without complaint, shows the level of support that you have for us as a school. It is difficult. It is incredibly hard for us at the moment, incredibly hard for teaching staff, incredibly hard for support staff, but it must be incredibly hard for you as parents and carers as well. And I really do thank you. Your support has been outstanding. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this video letter this week. Diolch yn fawr iawn.